Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, which will be presented by myself. My name is Abby, and I also have some colleagues on hand today, so I've got Jackie, Tina and Michael to answer your questions along the way. Today we're going to be looking at the company archive within your Sage 50 Accounts software. Before we begin, for those who are regular to our webinars, we'll be aware of how our sessions are run. For those who are new to joining us, just a brief explanation of how it works. What you will see is that you will be placed on mute when you join. That is so that you cannot speak directly to us during the webinar and will not be able to unmute yourself, but it will not impact your ability to hear us today. If you do have any questions, however, you can use the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen by clicking the option that looks like a little speech bubble with a question mark in the middle. This will open up the panel where you can send your questions across, where one of my colleagues will be able to answer for you. We do also have a handout for today. You can do this by clicking on the little button that looks like a little document with a folded corner. We would recommend downloading this as it does have some clickable buttons to some links on our help centre. So this is what we're going to be covering today. So this session is going to be shorter than usual if you are a regular. We have created this topic based on the amount of questions that we've gotten on previous webinars, so you may get some time back today depending on the volume of questions we receive. So we're going to start by covering the what is an archive, so clear up that confusion of what an archive actually is, how it works and what are the benefits. Will also be some demonstration on how to take an archive and how to access it, what the differences are between an archive and a backup, and a clear audit trail process. And then finally, I will summarise what we've covered on today's session. So I'm going to start with a poll, so just bear with me a moment there. So I want to get an understanding of what you know about what a company archive is. So you can be honest as you can. There is no judgment if you don't know the answer. But that's the reason for today's session. So does it remove all data? Does it take a read-only copy? Does it back up your data? Or are you not sure? So you can just get those votes in for us. We'll usually rate till about 70%. So we can just get those in for us. It'd be really appreciated. Just give us a better idea of how you're using your software. You're coming in quick there, shouldn't be too much longer. Okay, I'm going to close that now and I'll share the results with you as well. So majority of you have picked that it takes a reading copy of your data. That is correct. Some of you have entered that it removes all data. 3% said that backs up your data and 9% are not sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear up that confusion today. Okay. So what is an archive? So an archive takes a read-only copy of your data as it appears in the program at that time, including any logon details. The best way to describe it is that it takes a photograph or a snapshot of your data, but it allows you to browse through it like a normal company. You cannot add anything new to the archive, and you must also have the right user permissions to create an archive and access it. If you log in as manager, you will automatically have access, but if you log in and you do not see the options for an archive, then you will need to have your level of access reviewed by using the manager logon details. An archive allows you to revisit historical data, view figures, run reports. You cannot add anything new, and the only elements that you can edit or remove is records for GDPR purposes, so for example, customers or your suppliers. Please note anything you change in the archive does not update in the live data and vice versa. So anything you change in the live data does not update in the archive. It does not remove any information from the program. It creates a file that is then saved within the company folder of your data path, which then can be opened like a separate company to your live data. You can take an archive at any point in time, and there's no limit on how many times you can take one. But we strongly recommend to take one running prior to running the year end, or anytime you run a clear audit trail. You may run a clear audit trail right after running the year end. So if you've already taken the archive within the pre-year end checklist, you wouldn't need to take it again. But if you are to run a clear audit trail, say mid-year, do take a backup and an archive prior to that process. You may take one before any significant changes. So this might be deleting old records, for example, your customers or your suppliers, without needing to run a clear audit trail. But what I'll do now is I'll show you some demonstration of taking an archive and accessing it as well. So I'm just going to pop over to my software there. Okay, so you might have done an archive before without even realizing it. And you can find this in the year-end process. So if you were to go to Tools along the top, and then into Period End, and then into Year End, you can see here you've got Check Data, Check Chart of Accounts, Check Your Backup, and then you can see here your archive. Now this option is ticked automatically, so when you come to do your archive, as long as you haven't unticked that, it will have taken an archive every time you've run your year end. So that's that part here. So that's where you can find it in the year end. To take a manual archive, it's the same path. So you go to Tools along the top, Period End, but this time instead of going to year end, I'm going to go to Archive Company. So you can see here, it gives me the path to the archive. So that's telling me where it's going to be saved. The file. I've got the description. So for example, mine's come up mid-year. I'm going to just change mine to pre-customers removed. So then I know that that archive is specifically for that. And then the option underneath is the archive folder. So that's where you can change the name of the folder where the file is stored. Once you're happy with what you've filled out, you just click OK. And the archive has been complete. If you've got a larger data set, that may take longer, so don't worry if it does. I've got quite a small company on here. To access the archive, all you would do is you go to the top left, you go to File, you go down to Open, and you go to Company Archive. So you can see here, I've now got a list of list of company archives that I've taken. So you might go into that option and you may see a long list of ones that have been taken every year. So you can see here, this is the one I've taken today, pre-customer removed. All I would do is I would select that one I want to open and click open. Now you do need the login details that you've logged it, like you existed when you took the archive. So if I log in with my login details, there. If your user did not exist at the time that the archive was taken, you would need to use someone else's credentials who can get access. So it might be the manager login details, or it might be just another user. So that's me now in the company archive. So it does look very similar in terms of the home page and down the side. But the way you can tell you're in the company archive is it says archive along the top, and it tells me the file name as well that I'm in. So if I go into customers, and I just open up, I'm going to go to A1 Design Services. So for example, if I want to change something in this record, so for example, Ian Cairns no longer works there. Let's say Joe Bloggs is now the new contact name for this company. I can save, and when we go back into the live data, I'll show you that nothing has changed. So I'm just going to click save on that and then close. As I mentioned before, you can't add anything new. So if I was to try and add a batch invoice, I'm going to get a pop-up telling me that this option is not available when working with an archive dataset or in read-only mode. What you can do is you can run reports. For example, I might want to come into nominal codes and I might want to run a profit and loss specifically for this financial year. So I'll go into profit and loss, preview, and then run. And again, it's asking me what period I want to run it for. So I'm just going to leave it as January 22 to December 22. I'm going to click OK. And it tells me at the top. So it tells me at the top there, archive, pre-customers removed. I haven't got anything in at the moment because I haven't processed in my new financial year. So that's why it's given me that. Those figures, no figures in there. You can, as normal, you can export as well, just like normal. You click export and then choose where you want to save that file. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you how to get back to the live data. So all you would do is you would go to File in the top left, back to Open, then click Open Company Data. This is automatically going to go back to the same company. So I'm just going to click Yes, and it's going to ask for my login details. If your login details are different to the archive, to what they are in your live data, when you go and open company data, it's going to ask for your normal login details. So I'm going to pop back in to my live data. So you can see now, it no longer says archive along the top, it just says my company name. So that's how you know you're back in your live data. If I then come back into customers and choose A1 Design Services again, you can see the changes I made in the archive where I changed this to Joe Blogs. In the live data, it still says Ian Cairns. So that's just an example there that if I make changes in the archive, it's not going to reflect in my live data. Okay. So I'm just going to put back to my slides there. So now I'm going to be covering what the difference is between the archive, the backup, and the clear audit trail. So an archive, it takes a read-only copy of your data and stores it within your data path. You open it like a separate company, and it does not remove any transactions from your data. You also do not need to specify a date to run the archive. A backup, again, takes a copy of your data, which can be saved anywhere you wish. It is designed to be restored into the program over the top of your live data, or as a separate company if your license allows you to do so. Once restored in, you can edit, delete, and add in new information. If you are going to restore over the top of live data, please do this with caution. If you do want more information about backing up and restoring into the software, we did do a session yesterday, which you can go back on our Help Centre and watch the recording if you did not attend. Now, to compare the archive to the clear audit trail process, the clear audit trail process is to remove all the transactions to reduce the size of your data and keeping things tidier and more organised. You would enter a date when you run in the clear audit trail, and you would enter a date. For example, you might want to keep 6 years worth of data. You would then enter a chosen date, and anything before that date would be removed given if it fits the criteria. We do have specific sessions on clear audit trail and clearing records. If you do want to check that out, you can visit our Help Centre in previous recordings if you did want to get more information. So that is the company archive. So to summarise what we've covered on today, so we know that archiving creates a read-only copy of your data, including all historical transactions and current information. It does not remove any transactions from the software. You can take archives at any time, but it is typically done as part of the year end or before we're in the clear audit trail. You will need to use the same user credentials you use when creating the archive. It enables you to view historical data, edit and delete records, and run reports. but you cannot add anything new into the software when you're in the archive. So I have put some helpful links on the slide there down the side. So we've got the backup your data and archiving your company. So that basically reiterates kind of what I've been talking about today. So this moves me nicely on to upcoming webinars. So coming up, we have some key topics to cover, such as customer records. So this will be going back to basics, covering adding a new customer record. That takes place on the 7th of March. We do also have a session on remittances as well, how to generate, email and print them within the software, and that takes place on the 8th of March. We do also have some extra What's New in version 29 sessions as well. We have slotted in those throughout next week. There is one on Friday morning, and we do have one next Thursday. If you are interested in registering for these sessions, if you have the handout downloaded, you can click the little green registration button on the bottom right, and this will take you straight to our help centre where you can find the registration page. So before I move on to Sage members, we're just trying to get an idea of topics on what level of interest we can get you guys on. So these are multiple choice. So we've got allocating transactions, stock journals, custom fields, bill of materials, and quotations. These are multiple choice as well, so you can vote for more than one. If none of them pique your interest, let us know. If you have any ideas that are not currently shown on the screen, please pop them in the chat for us so we can collate that information. There may be topics that we've not covered before, or ones that we've not done for a while that you would like to see again. You know yourself where your knowledge gaps are. Get those suggestions in, and you'll find that more than likely you're not alone, and you just need that extra support from us. So I'll give you another couple of seconds there just to get some more votes in. Like I say, just if you do vote on these, it's not, you have to attend them. It's just we're trying to get a gauge on the interest of potential topics. Okay, what I'll do is I'll close that, and I'll share the results with you guys as well. So a lot of you guys are interested in custom fields. We've got some interest in allocating transactions. We've also got interest on the stock journals and a bill of materials, and also quotations. So there's a bit of interest in all of those areas, but mainly within custom fields and the allocating transactions. So that's great. Thank you very much for that, guys. So moving on. So I've got the Sage member. So just while we're waiting for any questions to be answered by my colleagues there, I'm just going to go through a bit more information about the Sage members and what's included. So we offer more than just software. We offer great solutions to help your business flow and develop by bringing you as our customers into the Sage community and connecting you with brilliant industry experts. As you can see, you get access to exclusive benefits such as masterclasses, learning, community forums, and much more. I'll not go into too much detail, but if you do want to know more information, there is a link on this slide which gives you links to the exclusive benefits. So if you can have the handout downloaded, you can click exclusive benefits on there. And lastly, I have more information on the members masterclasses as well. If you are wanting to check those out, we have season 1 and season 2 already available online. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Please feel free to stay around for the next couple of minutes or so if you are still waiting for an answer to your question, or if you have any further questions to ask. Just a reminder, we may not be able to answer all of your questions today, but you are more than welcome to visit our help centre, where you can find most answers to your queries. If you've got what you need today and want to leave the session, you will receive an email in around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. You will also receive a survey as well. We really appreciate it if you could fill that out if you get the chance. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put myself on mute just so I can check how we're getting on with those questions. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so majority of the questions seems to have been answered. So what I'll do now is I'll wrap the session up. I want to say thank you to my colleagues who've been on hand today to answer your questions. And thank you all for your participation. Just a reminder, we have got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so don't be shy and do get registered. So I want to say thank you and take care.